Balancing your first ration in SheepBytes is easy. Start at the ration list page that pops up when you log in. Click on the New Ration button in the upper left-hand corner, as I'm showing here. And the blank page, which we call the ration page, comes up immediately. First thing we'll do is click on the Ratios button here and get rid of the ratios at the bottom of the page. That gives us more room to add feeds into the column and allows us to focus on the ration balancing technique without the interference of looking at those ratios. So the first step is to pick your animal. As you can see up here, this button that I'm focused on is the animal button. Click on that and you'll see a number of boxes coming up that need to be filled in. For our first ration, we will use mature ewes, and that's the one that's there already. Rather than maintenance, we want to have an early gestation ration, and you can see in the drop-down box, that's the first ration that pops up. Body weight, you select here the body weight that you desire, and that would be typical for the sheep in your flock. In this case, I'm going to use 180 pounds of body weight. The next box in the line is the number of offspring. So we know that requirements do vary depending on whether that ewe is pregnant with 1, 2, or 3 lambs. In this case, we will change that 1 to a 2, hoping that she will be pregnant with 2 lambs. Body condition score is the next one. We have a choice of 1 to 5 body condition scores there, which is consistent with what the industry uses. In this case, we will click on number 3, and you can see there's a brief description of what number 3 body condition score should look like. The next section deals with the environment. The first open box there is wool depth, and we have 2 choices there. If you touch the drop down, you can see we can indicate that the sheep are newly shorn or that they have a full fleece. In this case, we will use full fleece. The next box is a temperature indicator. We have a wide range of temperatures, and we know that temperature will affect energy requirements. In this case, we will demonstrate a negative 10 degrees Celsius. Wool condition over on the right here. Wool can be either dry or wet. In this case, we will use dry. And wind speed, we have only 2 choices there, either less than 18 kilometers per hour or greater than 18 kilometers per hour. In our case, we will click on and leave the ration requirements suitable for less than 18 kilometers. Once you're finished selecting your environmental conditions, then go back up to the button that says Ration, and that will get us back to the ration page. You can see in the top here, we've got now the description of the ewe that we want to balance the ration for. Let's make a title to this ration right off the bat and call it First Ration. So what do we need to do next? We've got the animal identified. It's now time to select feeds. The third button in from the top left you'll see is labeled as Feeds. Put your cursor there and click on that, and you will see the feed table come to life. The first thing we want to do is select alfalfa grass hay, the first feed on that table. And to do that, we put the cursor on the Add button. You can see when we go on to the Add, that button lights up to a green shade. One click changes it from Add to In. If we go back to our ration, we'll just check to make sure that has happened. And there we see alfalfa grass hay is now added to our feed table so we can begin to work with it. However, we know that we're going to require some vitamins and minerals along with our alfalfa grass hay. So going back to the feed table, we now want to select appropriate mineral supplement. The various categories of feeds are listed along the top here. And again, as you put your cursor over to it, it shows the box being highlighted. In this case, we'll go to the mineral area, click on that, and we can see that a series of minerals show up for us to select from. I've added a custom mineral, that first one on the list, custom one-to-one mineral, for use in this example. Again, put your cursor on the add, one click, it's in. If we go to the ration page again, we there see the custom one-to-one mineral. A tip for you if you get lost as you're navigating around SheepBytes is to always head back to the ration page. That should be considered to be your home. So we now have 2 feeds on the ration page and we can begin balancing our ration. The default in SheepBytes is to use the net energy system. However, the system that most farmers are comfortable with would probably be the digestible energy or TDN system. To change back and forth, we can put our cursor over this light bulb here. And you can see the box pops up and says we can toggle energy values shown between the DE and TDN system or the NEM and EG system. Click on that light bulb and immediately you'll see that the columns change to DE and TDN. Now it's time to start to balance the ration. A tip is to use the recommended amount of dry matter as the first number that you would put in there beside the forage. In this case, that number is 4.25. Now let's see what that has done to balancing our ration. The dry matter supplied is 3.71, which is yellow. We can see that there's a room for the sheep to eat a little bit more than that if required. As we go down here to the supplied in feed line compared to the recommended, we can see that digestible energy and TDN are a little bit lower than requirement. They are still within range, therefore they are green, but there is room to do a little bit more, get a little bit more close to the required amounts there. So let's go back up here right now and change to 4.5. The first things we want to do is to make sure we're adequate for energy and protein. So now our DE value is still green, but it's above the recommended level, which is good. As we move over to the protein column, we can see that that box is red. In this case, it's because there's a surplus amount of protein. Now, we're not purchasing or supplementing protein. All of that protein has come from the hay that we've got in the ration. So although it is red, it is not a concern to us at this time. We can see the calcium column, green, that's good. Phosphorus is red, and that's a little bit low. Let's go back up now and add some of this custom mineral to see if we can correct that phosphorus deficiency. What's a good place to start? I always start with 1% of the total ration as the custom salt, mineral, and vitamin mixture. In this case, I would start with about 0.04 and see what happens. So in this case, adding 0.04 pounds of the custom mineral to the ration certainly allows us to meet the phosphorus requirement. As we scroll to the right, we see a number of columns there with various colors. Copper is green, that's safe. Magnesium is high, and the main source of magnesium is from our alfalfa grass hay, so the same comment we had for protein would apply to the magnesium. Potassium is yellow, it's quite a bit over, but that is again a characteristic of the feedstuffs we're using and is not a concern in terms of balancing the ration. Sulfur is in the same category, being yellow. All the rest of the boxes are green, which means we're in an acceptable level of nutrients supplied for the animal in question. One item here, as we reach to the iodine, we can see that that's probably a little on the high side. It's yellow, but it's not of nutritional significance. And molybdenum is a little bit higher than we like, and molybdenum is an anti-nutritive factor when it comes to trace mineral utilization. However, it is still yellow, and that's safe at this time. So there you've got what we would consider to be your first balanced ration. We have called it first ration. We want to store this for future use, and to do that, we go over to the green box on the left-hand corner here. Click on that, and you'll see a drop-down menu. We want to use the second item there in the list, Save As. We click on Save As, and the file name comes up untitled. This is where we will erase the term untitled and put in first ration. We want to create that, so we're sure to click on that box. This bounces us back to the rations list, and you can see now the first ration on that list is in fact our first ration. So there you have it. Easy as 1, 2, 3, balancing a very simple ration for a class of sheep.